Hello, ho, ho, folks. I'm Santanon, and this is the only news that matters. Today, we're going to discuss something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long, long time. That topic is the Men in Black. Who are the Men in Black? Legend has it that these elusive figures are a group of agents that materialize whenever an unidentified flying object appears, or any other extraterrestrial occurrences take place. Their task is to frighten witnesses into denying all knowledge of what has happened. The conspiracy theory that lies behind the idea of the Men in Black is that alien beings are threatening our planet and want to hide the information from the public. Alternatively, it has been suggested that the Men in Black are government agents who also wish to suppress the truth. According to the theory, the government agents, or MIBs, or MIBs, they're usually dressed in black suits and display behavior which is unusual and possibly non-human. They threaten witnesses and confiscate photographs, videotapes, and any other means of recording a sighting. In some cases, their black suits have been described as made of a strange, shiny fabric which witnesses have not seen before. They also have been described as mechanical, with monotone voices and robotic movements. Some reports even claim to the fact that their faces are not like human faces, but have odd slanted eyes and high cheekbones. They're said to travel in threes most of the time, but they have occasionally been reported as traveling alone. MIBs, so the story goes, drive new Lincolns or Cadillacs, often with the headlights off, and the inside of the cars are lit with strange green or purple lights. The license plates of the cars are false, and there are sometimes odd emblems on the doors. Occasionally, the MIBs arrive in black helicopters and tell witnesses of UFO happenings, intimidating them into giving up any evidence they might have. Since the earliest times, there have always been accounts of emissaries from the gods, or from the devils, or from the demons. They disguised themselves to do their master's business on Earth. In particular, demons were said to wear black, usually sporting the fashions of the day, and they would ride around in sleek black carriages, in a similar way that the modern-day Men in Black ride around in black Lincolns or Cadillacs. An 18th century Norwegian story tells of a young girl who was traveling with her grandmother to meet the devil. The devil turned out to be her grandfather, and then on the way back from that meeting with her grand devil, her and her grandmother were met by three men dressed in black. Another story from the early 12th century tells of a religious cult that was centered around a woman named Mary Jones. Its members reported seeing strange lights in the sky and encountering dread apparitions in the night, including men dressed in black. There's also been speculations among some of the ufologists or UFOologists that mythical figures from the past, such as Elizabethan and Native American black men or 19th century evil traveling salesmen, could in fact have been Men in Black, who were traveling the earth in order to silence those who had witnessed extraterrestrial events. The first modern sighting, however, took place in 1947, when a sailor named Harold Dahl reported seeing 6 UFOs at a place called Maury Island.
You are not the father.
Maury Island near Tacoma, Washington. Dahl, who was with his son and his dog, took some photographs. His dog was supposedly killed when some hot sparks from the UFO landed on the boat. Next day, a man called his house, took him out to a diner for breakfast. The man, who was described as tall and dark and wearing a black suit, pumped Dahl for details of the sighting and gave him a severe warning not to tell anyone. Otherwise, Dahl's family might be harmed. So later, like any rational person, Dahl said, "Hey, I made up that UFO sighting." And then years later, he was like, "Guys, remember I said I made up that UFO sighting? Well, I didn't. I was visited by the Men in Black, and they told me that I needed to say I made it up. Otherwise, they were going to kill my whole family." And this, of course, has caused some confusion, and many people doubt the whole story altogether. That's going to be a common theme. One of the earliest people to pick up on the story was Albert K. Bender. He ran something called the International Flying Saucer Bureau, and he also edited a UFO newsletter called The Space Review. In a 1953 article, Bender alleged that he had acquired information about flying saucers, but was unable to print it, and warned that anyone who had similar information was in danger. Issues of the Space Review then ceased to be written. Later, Bender explained that he was visited by 3 men in dark suits who had told him the secrets of UFOs and then intimidated him into silence. After Bender's story was made public, of course, controversy arose around the whole Men in Black situation. The controversy was around whether or not the Men in Black story had been dreamed up by UFO enthusiasts to cover the fact that they had very little evidence for their stories. Skeptics pointed out that having government or aliens harass a UFO witness into silence was a very handy device for explaining why concrete information was not forthcoming. The UFOologists countered that argument by saying that sinister men were suppressing the real story of what was going on in the extraterrestrial world. There's tons of stories like that of people with evidence either about aliens or UFOs or both constantly being harassed and visited by strange men in black. And a lot of times their evidence gets confiscated. And then the person tends to look kind of crazy. According to U.S. government sources, there is some evidence to suggest that people who have witnessed UFO activity have sometimes been harassed. It is thought that ordinary members of the public or, members of other UFO organizations like NICAP, MUFON, have posed as government officials and intimidated witnesses. There was one case when a guy named Rex Heflin took a photograph of a UFO in 1965. The photos were actually later published. He told later of receiving a visit from 2 men who claimed to be representatives of the North American Aerospace Defense Command. They asked for the negatives of the photographs and took them away, never to return them, and never to be seen again. This case was well documented. There were thought to be a bunch of inconsistencies in Heflin's account, and there's little concrete evidence to suggest that the Men in Black actually showed up and confiscated his stuff. There's complicating factors for people who claim to have been visited by the Men in Black. They often report themselves to have been in like a trance-like mental state, both during the encounter and after it. So some skeptics believe that instead of having been visited by MIBs, the witnesses have actually been undergoing some kind of mental crisis, which has impaired the state of mind. So the skeptics claim that they imagined the whole thing. Another explanation, which is on the pro-UFO side of this argument, is that government officials have in fact dressed up in strange clothes in order to discredit the stories of the UFO witnesses. Others suggest that the MIBs are in fact alien-human hybrids, whose job it is to cover up any trace of alien activity on Earth. These visits have a long history, whether they're hoaxes or real events, or, some weirdos dressing up and just fucking with people. And it's all throughout history, if you look at it. I mean, the stories got so popular, there was a comic book based on them, later turned into a franchise of movies, which I love those movies. There were video games, there was a cartoon show. The Men in Black have been transformed into the good guys. And longtime viewers of mine will know that since the UFO disclosure thing was in fact just the government and New World Order's way of doing a worldwide viral marketing campaign for Tic Tac, and also longtime viewers of mine will know that, of course, aliens actually do exist, and the government is actively covering up anything and everything to do with them. So, what's the point? Why do this? It all goes back to the beginning, right? The disclosure just being product placement for Tic Tac. The Men in Black are, they are alien-human hybrids. They're working with the aliens and the government in conjunction. My source says so. 17 told me. Look, he sent me this letter. And it's also just a centuries-long marketing campaign to sell Lincoln and Cadillacs. If you go back to the medieval times when they report the Men in Black driving around in sleek black carriages, what companies made those sleek black carriages? That's right. The Lincolnshire Carriage Company and the Cadillacus Carriage Companies. And remember the part where there were stories of evil door-to-door salesmen back then too? And those have been linked to ancient Men in Black sightings, or not ancient, but medieval Men in Black sightings. Now it's all making sense. It's all to sell cars. So the New World Order gets richer. But there have been events where the Men in Black did cause a lot of crazy shit. And I'm going to cover that in my next video. And it involves the Mothman. But until then, thanks for tuning in. God bless, and hell Santa.
The Only News That Matters is a production of the Children's Television Workshop, brought to you by
Reverend Rob here. You know, we get lots of people asking if we can really heal their credit problems. I say yes. Yes, we can, because Apple Auto Sales has the power.
Oh, Reverend Rob, I've been through a terrible divorce, and the bonds left me with bad credit.
It's heartbreaking, folks, but we're going to drive that bad credit away.
Oh, Lord.
Brothers and sisters, friends and neighbors, it's just that easy. Apple Auto Sales has the power to heal. We're healing.
and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Here comes